This kills every conversation. Not sometimes, not just with certain people, every time. And the worst part is, if you struggle with people, there's a good chance you're doing this without even knowing it, and then blaming yourself when others pull away. But I'm here to tell you, whether it's a mistake you only make occasionally, or it's baked into your personality, you can absolutely teach yourself to change it. Let me show you what it looks like. You're talking to someone and they tell you something personal, maybe how they're nervous about an upcoming job interview or how a friend hurt their feelings. And instead of acknowledging what they just said, you correct them. You give them advice. You make a joke, or you change the subject. You interrupt with your own story, or you question the accuracy of what they're saying, or you go silent, or you act unimpressed. You roll your eyes. These are what I call conversation stoppers, and they're relationship poison. Now, why would anyone do them? Why would anyone respond to real human vulnerability with a behavior that shuts connection down? Connection is what we want, right? Now, me, I didn't learn good connection and communication skills at home. My siblings and I, we were left to pretty much raise ourselves. My parents weren't very present with us. We didn't talk about life much with them, like about grades or friends or problems at school. And with my friends, I put a lot of energy into hiding how bad things were at home because I was ashamed. I liked my friends, but I felt like I was feral and I had to hide it, to act normal, to avoid getting left out. So I got by on instinct and people pleasing. And when things got comfortable or had a conflict with someone, which is normal in anyone's life, instead of being able to talk it through, I'd laugh or I'd say something funny to avoid the conversation, or I'd end up crying, or I'd just avoid the person altogether and not say why. And this pattern of holding people at arm's length over time hollowed out all my relationships so that I didn't learn how to really connect with people through listening and conversation till I was like 45. I taught it to myself. And now that it's easier for me to spot this uneasy avoidance in other people, I can see it's basically discomfort with emotions. It's what they learned at home. And sometimes it's just personality. Some people are talkers, some are fixers, some are thinkers. But unless you learn how to truly connect, these traits can become barriers. And now, without realizing it, you may have brought those habits into your adult life. And that's how patterns work. They don't just live in your head. They show up in your posture, your tone, your eye contact, your timing, and especially in how you respond to people in their vulnerable moments. And if you're constantly cutting off the emotional current of a conversation, no matter how good your intentions are, people are not going to feel safe with you. They won't feel close to you. They won't want to open up again. This is how connection dies, not with a fight, not with a betrayal, but with 100 little dismissals, 100 tiny moments where one person tried to be real and the other person couldn't meet them there. Now let's talk about what to do instead. The first step is recognizing what your particular conversation stoppers are. Now, in my book, Connectability, I talk about 10 of them, like over-talking, failing to listen, giving advice too quickly, interrupting, or withholding affirmation. So for example, one of the most common is simply failing to show that you're listening. You might be listening, but if you don't look like you're listening, if you're not nodding and making eye contact, not showing some sign that the other person's words are landing, oh, wow, oh, you're creating emotional static. And eventually the person stops talking. Another stopper is talking too much. Now, especially when you're anxious, you might fill up every space in the conversation thinking you're connecting, when really you're blocking connection. Now, some people, especially introverts or people who experience emotional overwhelm, they need quiet space to form their thoughts. If you never pause, they can't get a word in. And you wouldn't need pauses like that, so you may not hear it unless you really pay attention. They're thinking right now. They're getting ready to take a breath and say what they're going to say. But you heard it as waiting for you to talk, and in you came. It's innocent enough, but it doesn't work. So when that happens repeatedly, they'll just stop trying. Then there's this fix-it response. And this is when someone shares a struggle and you leap into advice mode. You don't mean to be dismissive, but it feels that way. Because when someone opens up, they're not always looking for a solution. They're looking for connection. They're looking for presence, a moment of, yeah, I get it. That sounds really hard. But instead, a lot of us, especially those who grew up managing other people's feelings, go into fix-it mode. We think that helping means taking charge. But the truth is, it often just makes people feel unheard. Another common one, competitive storytelling. That's pretty familiar to a lot of us. That's when someone tells you something vulnerable, and instead of receiving it, you launch into your own story, usually bigger or more dramatic version of it. And they say, I had such a hard day at work. And you come back with, oh yeah, you should hear about my day. All right, again, it's not malicious, but it stops connection cold. If you're seeing yourself in these patterns, I want you to know you're not broken and you're not bad. These are adaptive behaviors that once protected you, but they're not helping anymore. And the good news is you can change them. In fact, you already know how. You've just forgotten, or maybe you never had the chance to learn. Hey, I've got a quick invite for you. I made a free daily practice course that shows you 2 simple techniques to calm the storm when you're triggered inside. It's short, it's powerful, and it helps you feel clearer, more focused, and more at ease, fast. Click the second link in the description section below, or use the QR code right there, and you can start your course right away. The antidote to conversation stoppers is something so simple, it's almost embarrassing how rare it is. Affirmation. Now, affirmation doesn't mean flattery or fake compliments. It means showing the person in front of you that you value what they're saying, that you understand, and that you care. Sometimes that looks like nodding. Sometimes it's just a quiet, yeah. Sometimes it's a gentle mirror back, like, oh, that sounds so frustrating. Sometimes it's just letting the pause hang for a while so that the other person has time to go deeper. It's not about performing empathy. It's about slowing down, getting out of your own head, letting go of your need to manage or fix or be impressive, and instead being present. This is what makes people feel safe. And when people feel safe, they open up. And that's where connection lives. But if you're emotionally overwhelmed or you're distracted or you're stuck in old habits, presence isn't easy. I mean, honestly, I didn't even used to know what that meant. Many people, whether they've had trauma or not, fall into patterns that disconnect them from other people. And it could be stress, it could be a personality trait like being overly analytical or introverted or just nervous in social settings. Sometimes we develop habits that helped us get by, like being funny, being quick with solutions, always having something smart to say. But those same habits can end up short-circuiting a real conversation. You might have grown up with poor role models, or maybe no one ever really taught you how to listen. Maybe you've picked up some bad habits from social media or environments where connection was always shallow or performative. None of that makes you bad. It just means you're human. But it also means there's room to grow. Your nervous system might play a part, but so do your choices. And once you recognize the patterns that shut people down, you can replace them deliberately with behaviors that create warmth and trust and real connection. Hey, it's me, and real fast, if you're watching my videos and wondering if maybe past trauma is having an effect on your life today, I want to share with you a list of signs that what you're struggling with now might be connected with neglect or abuse in your childhood. It's good to know this because it can help you know that what's hard for you right now is normal and that healing is possible. You can download my Signs of Childhood PTSD quiz by clicking the top link in the description section below or using that QR code right there. So here's where the daily practice that I do can help. You know, in the daily practice, this is the twin set of techniques that I've been using for 30 years. I always talk about it here, and it's a really good way to release and, unpack the pent-up thoughts and feelings that are angry and fearful. And so in the daily practice, we write down our fears and resentments. and we ask for them to be removed, and then we rest for a while in a meditation, quiet meditation. That's the only goal, is rest. You don't have to not think or breathe or anything like that. You'll breathe because you're alive, so don't worry about that. But it gives you space to just, release the whole situation from having to do anything about it, and let it kind of sort itself out after you've done the writing, while you rest in meditation. And then you come out of meditation often and you discover that a lot of stuff just evaporated. A lot of problems you thought were there. And what's still there, you don't necessarily have to fix it, or not in the moment. You don't have to impress anyone. You just have to be with them. And that's more powerful than anything you could say. Because when you're present, you don't need the perfect words. You just need the willingness to witness someone. Do you know that word, witness? It's like to really be there with your attention. I see what you're going through. To hear what's underneath their words. To reflect back their worth. So today, I'm challenging you to do two things. First, identify your go-to conversation stopper. Is it interrupting or talking too much or advice giving? Do you withdraw? Find it. Find it. Just embrace it. Let yourself look at it. It's okay. And then write it down. And the second one is practice one act of affirming another person today. When someone talks to you, instead of reacting automatically, pause. Listen to what they said, and then say something kind that reflects that you heard. Not random kind thing, but something that shows that you were there and that they matter. Now, this is how meaningful connection begins. Not with perfection, but with presence. Hey, if you liked that video, I've got one I know you're going to love. It's right here, and I will see you over there. Their mom just died, and instead of giving them some empathy, you tell a long story about what happened when your mom died.